Chapter 7 Duchess Mercala, First Part. Greylancer returned to Pistoria, the regional capital of his sector of the frontier, 3 days later. 5 minutes after boarding a gyrocopter at the border checkpoint, Greylancer returned to his castle, where a shocking piece of news awaited. Merling had wielded his evil claw and grievously injured Chancellor Cornelius inside the halls of the Privy Council Ministry. "You have orders to report at once," said the chief steward. The old Cornelius did not perish. He was still being treated in the nobles' own hospital, where science and magic met. "I expected nothing less," Greylancer said with a smile. This same smile floated to his lips once again when Vice-Chancellor Pitaka issued Greylancer his orders. "Lord Greylancer, I've been waiting for you. Merling has returned to his sector. Following his attack on Chancellor Cornelius, he will likely hole up in his castle and engage our army there. The Privy Council has appointed you sub-commander of the counterinsurgency forces." "Who is the commander?" "Duchess Mercala of the southern frontier sector." A faint smile came over Greylancer's lips, at which Vice-Chancellor Pitaka glared and quickly added, "Your army will assemble tomorrow. Best you go to the War Ministry to meet with Mercala immediately. You two will have full operational control." "I must ask, what has become of the engagement against the OSB?" "The Privy Council holds your command and victory on the Moon Base in high regard. Consider this appointment as sub-commander as an expression of our appreciation. If you return having performed your duty, I have every expectation that more accolades will follow." "What of the OSB Vanguard?" he pressed. Whether Vice-Chancellor Pitaka recognized the force behind the question was not apparent in his expressionless face. "If you've returned to your sector, then you received the government decree. The plasma attack on suspected OSB enclaves was originally set for tomorrow. In light of the rebel insurgency, however, 0 hour has been pushed to 3 days after Merling's surrender." Page break indicated by a small cross. When Greylancer arrived at the counterinsurgency headquarters taking up a corner of the spacious War Ministry, the awestruck faces of the officers and the beguiling smile of the Duchess greeted him. "Lord Greylancer, it has been too long," Mercala said. "Indeed." Mercala's smile turned affectionate, like that of a mother admonishing a mischievous urchin. "He is as unsociable as he was a millennium ago," she thought. The faint scent of fragrance tickled the warrior's nostrils. "Given the sudden turn of events, we haven't much time. What is the plan?" The moonlight filtering in through the window illuminated the 2 overseers and officers. The walls were hewn stone, the room devoid of computers and machines. Mercala crooked a pale finger as if to beckon. The space near the ceiling sparked to life, and an image of the moon suddenly appeared. "The headquarters have already been fitted to your needs, I see." "Yes, excuse me." Her finger, adorned with a diamond ring of a size that might be mistaken for the moon itself, danced in the air, and the moon image melted, giving way to a map of a vast land. "The western frontier sector, Lord Greylancer." Despite having been appointed commander, Mercala maintained a tone of respect toward her sub-commander. Greylancer's glorious military service and skill as overseer demanded it, to say nothing of the reality that no one dared oppose him. The key departments have already determined the composition of the troops. With this in mind, the strategy I have devised is the following. The map transformed into a three-dimensional graphic. In the air were bombers, while on the ground were missile tanks, giant mechanized infantry, and a battalion of regular infantry. Greylancer grabbed a bomber in his hand and took a good look. It was a saucer-shaped object about 3 centimeters in diameter. The actual aircraft measured 50 meters. How many, he asked. 50 bombers. Missile tanks. 50. As well as 100 giant infantry and 1,000 regular infantry. A tricky business, punishing a noble. Greylancer returned to the aircraft and smiled bitterly. If we fire an anti-proton missile from the capital, the entire western frontier sector will be destroyed. But it would not kill a single noble. Yes, wooden stakes, steel swords, sharp arrows are the only effective weapons in bringing us down in any age. In order to destroy Merling, we must penetrate the castle walls, and rely on the infantry swords and lances and bows. Merlin will not sit back quietly. A frontal attack of the likes outlined on this map will spell heavy damage for our side. The central government has already anticipated as much. Are the giant mechanized and regular infantry comprised of androids? Myrkella shook her head slowly. The gold hair clip and diamond-studded crimson dress sparkled in the moonlight. The giants are AI, and the regular infantry comprised of half-human soldiers. Your proposed attack will cause untold fatalities. Odd. Myrkella touched her finger to her lips and smiled. Her fangs flashed beneath her lips. They were snaggletooth, unbecoming a duchess. She too fed upon human blood. The Greylancer that I know would feel no compunction over sacrificing his subjects in order to carry out his purpose. He is a true noble among nobles. To carry out a purpose, he affirmed quietly. But those sacrifices were ones of necessity. They died for a just cause. They have never been sent to their deaths for my self-interest, nor for senseless wars. Such misguided, or shall I say compassionate, thinking. Myrkella dropped her head respectfully. If you have objections to my proposed strategy, I would welcome hearing them. No, I believe this is the best strategy. I'm pleased to have your approval. But this will be the outcome. Greylancer moved towards Merlin's castle. The scale holograph of the battlefield stretched 20 meters long and 10 meters wide. I shall defend the castle. With a grumble he said, commence your attack. Myrkella answered with a nod. Page break indicated by a small cross. I don't believe it, said Myrkella, her voice full of shock, that my army would be so easily defeated as this. Not defeated, annihilated. Greylancer cast a frigid look down at the dead troops and tanks, lying in ruins on the holographic battlefield, then craned his neck to the right and left. His joints cracked. Flames and black smoke rose up in the air. They were holographic, of course, but they would burn you if you touched them. This is the outcome I foresee based on the arsenal Merling has at his disposal. The strategy was mine, but I expect Merling to employ a similar one. But beware Myrkella. He may have weapons of which we have no knowledge. How could he procure such things? Built clandestine factories and hired able technicians, perhaps. He may well have contrived the weapons himself. Your failure to consider this possibility, Margalla, suggests you've become too accustomed to your own idleness. The bewitching beauty gnashed her teeth, but not out of self-reproach or regret. A look of hate had spread over her face, and she cast an upward glance at Greylancer. If this is the best strategy, then what is next best? I do not know, grumbled Greylancer. I leave now for my sisters. You may call on me any time. With pleasure, said Margalla, bowing again. Greylancer nodded and strode away. When the sound of its footsteps faded, Duchess Margalla dismissed the officers and gazed up at the moon in the window. May you never learn, Lord Greylancer. The supreme commander of the counterinsurgency force, and oversee the southern frontier sector, intoned like a curse, that our foe this time is not merely alone. Dear friend Zeus, beloved Macula, pray that we will be able to achieve our purpose. Nay, we must seize victory for with our own hands, and tear away their flesh and blood with these two hands. Her fist trembled with anger and hatred. Pshaw, the Duchess hissed, her right hand slashing down the front of her dress. The fabric tore open and fell around her feet. The moon gazed down at the woman's naked body. Merling. Her right hand danced, its motion like an elegant dance. A red line streaked from the left side of her neck and diagonally down her luscious right breast, and quickly turned into a thick cascade of blood. Greylancer. Her left hand leapt. A second blood streak ran down her other breast, forming a condemning cross. Watch me, dear Zeus. I shall send an enemy that stands in our way to their end, like this. Whether driven to madness by the brilliant moon or having simply become too incensed, Margalla smeared the dripping blood over her entire body. Her breast shook, her glistening stomach swayed. The blood spread over her face. And then the Duchess lifted a hand and sucked on her blood-stained finger. In the dark where only the moonlight and the woman's body glowed, the sound that would drive a noble to rapture echoed across the stone room. Page break indicated by a small cross. The coach, arranged for Greylancer by the central government, traveled 30 minutes west on the road and passed through the mansion gates of Greylancer's childhood home. Greylancer alighted from the coach in the courtyard, where the chief steward, house staff, and a young couple stood in a line before him. Whereas the wife appeared to be in her early 20s, the husband was not much younger than Greylancer. However, he cut a diminutive figure that was a far cry from Greylancer's stately mien. This was Greylancer's only family. Younger sister Laria, and her husband Count Bruegel. Though he himself was from a family of pedigree, having been stripped of his estate and rank from past failings, Bruegel now lived here, having essentially been taken in by the bride's family. Seems you're having a bit of a day. Laria cast her stately brother a look filled with both sarcasm and unabated reverence. After bowing and lightly kissing the palm of her outstretched hand, Greylancer muttered, "A day indeed," and acknowledged his brother-in-law with a nod, failing, despite his best effort, to smile. He did not get along with Bruegel, who was an officer working in the Civil Administration Bureau. Yet on this day, the off-stolen Bruegel returned a cordial smile. When Laria teased her husband later by asking, "What got into you back there?" Bruegel replied, "He had an odd kindness in his eyes." The three went into the sitting room, where Bruegel said, "I beg your pardon, but I have some urgent business to attend to," and excused himself. "I'm sorry, brother," said Laria. "Something came up at work. I thought civil servants were anything but busy. He's gone to give a poetry lecture to school kids," Laria said with an air of indifference, expecting her brother to jeer. Yet the answer she heard was, "Oh." Laria nearly threw her head back in amazement, detecting even a hint of respect in his voice. "That suits him. Bruegel must be very pleased." Greylancer was aware of Bruegel's ambition to be a poet. She had expected her brother's laughter to ring across the room, yet his tone was nothing if not gentle. It was enough for Laria to suspect whether this man might not be an OSB impersonator. First part, end.